Welcome to the Board Game Bears. We are two bears that play board games.
Hello, everybody.
That's Suzanne Bear, and I'm Robin Bear. There are no bears in this game.
Unfortunately, this is a totally different theme that has absolutely nothing to do with bears. And these need to be taken off.
So, yeah, we would prefer games with bears, but they are hard to find. I think Barron Park was the only one I can remember. But now I'm making these thumbnails for the channel with bears playing whatever game it is that we are going to be playing. I think okay. So that's going to change every video, So this one will be bears in naval uniforms playing the game. So this is the new Mattias Cramer game, who did Watergate, which we really like. And he seems to be sticking with two-player games now, which is great for us. So we like to play games that are either two-player only or best with two, or as good with two as they are with higher counts. So I'm not buying games that are, ideal for 3 or 4. So that keeps our collection down. Playing hundreds of games over the last 30 years, and I've got maybe 45 games right now. So maybe we keep 1 in 5 or 10 of every game we buy. Most of them get played once or twice and then sold off. So it's rare to keep a game that stays in the collection for years. And this is a new one, and it was only $35, so I thought I'd give it a try. And the idea of this game is, of course, it is a historical game set during World War II. The Germans are running the Admiral Graf Spee, and they have the Alt mark, which I can put anywhere on the board, and I'm just going to put it here. So it is a cat and mouse game of hidden movement, and the Germans are hidden with the Graf Spee. I will start a space, and normally I will write this down, but I'm going to show you where I'm putting it on the 2 dice here. The red will be the first number, and the green will be the second. So this would be 35. And I don't think, that would be like there. So I'm just going to show this on the dice and not write anything down. So so you can see by looking in there what I have. So Suzanne's playing the British, and she's going to start by drawing 2 freighters out of the blue bag, and this there's about 9 or 10 in there. I'm not sure. Now, should we want to do the alternate history on these? Because this one is normally starts with a 0, but we could start it with a plus half a point. And then your force, is it supposed to be, not sure what was the order of putting those out there. I'll look it up again on my online manual.
H is supposed to be here. It says that on here. See?
Does it say there? Okay. So we can.
This is supposed to be out here.
Right. So we could play it. This is the one they say to start with when it's on plus 0, but the historical one would be the other side, and in which case this second one would turn to 0. Maybe we'll try that. And then the force K is the same on both sides. So in this game, the British will start stronger than they would in the non-historical version. So you got a very small board. The Germans have a plane that takes off an aircraft carrier that can help them on search rolls. It will add +2 to a search roll. The Germans search for the British. They score on a 5 or higher. So it's a explosion mark for the 6. The plane will add 2 to the search roll. And we have a deck of cards that are specific to each side. We're going to start with 5 cards. You can draw. And the idea is that the Germans need to capture 5 of the British freighters. So the British start with the Trevanian, which is leaving Argentina to go to Great Britain. It's marked on there, Argentina to Great Britain. And then they have the Strionhal, which is also going from... Oh, okay, I think you have to take a different one because it has to be a different starting location for the second one. And there will normally be only 1 or 2 on the board. So this one is going from Brazil to South America across here. So it will have to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 moves, and it will enter the port, and it goes through these arrows. So she's trying to get 5 to safety, which is highly unlikely, and I'm trying to sink 5 of the boats. Then I win. The other thing that will happen that for a win is that we get into a battle phase when she successfully searches for the Graf Spee. When I'm on a space, like say I was there, hidden of course, and she finds me with a 5 or 6 die roll, we'll have a battle, and then we just compare 5 cards. We drop to 5, and we compare their AP points value, and then each side will start taking hits like this. And whoever has the least amount of hits would win. So in this case, it would be a British win. So you can do some strategic things in the card battle as well. There will be some advantages for the German player to maybe look at the cards total of the British player. So that could happen really quick. In one game we played, it happened in the first 10 minutes that I was found, and a battle happened and I lost the game. So these are hint markers. The British have ability to use British intelligence where they can bring out hint markers, where I would have to then mark a space adjacent to where I am. Say I was hidden on 24. I could put the hint marker there, or it would be in any one of these spaces around the Graf Spee. And so it would be up to Suzanne to figure out, well, where am I? And she could, of course, bring out more cards that would possibly even narrow this search down, where I'd be here, and I might have to put one there, and then I put another one there. She has an easier time figuring out where I am then. So that can be done. And then these... we have 1 die, so there's a bit of luck. So this game is really, if you're a hardcore war gamer, you probably won't like this aspect of it because it can get frustrating. It can make some searches easy, and then other times you may roll 3 times in a row where you don't get what you want. So it's always important for the Germans to add their 2 points with the ship and once with the plane. And once this is used, it goes into the out of fuel, and then they power it up again by rolling the die for to see if they can refuel the plane, and it's based on you have to roll higher than the amount of cards the Germans have removed from the deck. So there's at least 10 cards in here that are event cards. When I use the event, instead of the AP points, the card says remove it. So if I had only 1 out here and I rolled a 2, I'd still be safe. If I rolled a 1, that would be not greater than the amount of cards I've had out. So I will then, this would be destroyed and it would go onto that marker. So it's important for the Germans to keep this, because this is really what helps the rolls. And important not to discard too many cards from the deck. Otherwise they will lose the plane. And the British player will also have advantages, adding a +1 to their die rolls by using British intelligence. They have a binocular icon on there. So you'll see all this as we play, and I'll try to explain it. This is reserve points that the Germans can reserve for later use. So if I play a card that's worth 4 AP points and I don't spend all the AP, I will be able to say, okay, I spent 2 AP doing my moves and things, and I had 2 left over. I could then reserve here only can be used on a future turn. And there's no time limit on that. So on the next turn I might have only 2 AP points on a card, then I can start using them from here. And then the British will have cards that will actually knock that down to 0 as well. So the game can go really quick, or it can go up to 40, 45 minutes. So let's see what happens. The Germans always go first, so I will mark on the die where I'm going to start. So it's obvious that the Germans would start on where the British have their freighters. There's no reason to start anywhere else, because the goal is to knock these down, and historically that's what happened anyway. So I would have a choice now to start here or here. Now the advantage of being here is that I'm close to the alt mark. When the spee is adjacent to the alt mark at the end of my turn, when I redraw cards, I could redraw back up to 5. If I am not adjacent, like if I was here, I can only ever have 3 cards in my hand. So it's important to also be close to the alt mark for the purpose of redrawing cards to 5. Now you can bluff with this as well. I could be adjacent to the alt mark, and then at the end of my turn I can say I'm not drawing any cards. So that tells the British player that I'm probably either not around the alt mark, or maybe I am around the alt mark, but I'm refusing to draw cards just to fake the British out. That can come in, you never have less than 3 cards, though, for the Germans. Now, once I'm searched and I'm found, then we'll go into the battle phase. So that's how it can end. And the Germans have a card called the Montevideo card. If it's played in the 5th round of our duel at the end of the game, I can remove 2 damage from the German side, and then I'll win the game unless the British respond on that 5th round of the battle with their own Montevideo card, which is how that historical battle ended. There's a really good liner notes in this game explaining the history behind each card and the commanders on both sides. So that's what I really like about it. Same as Watergate, it's very historical, and you do learn something. Okay, we're going to start now. So I have, I'm going to mark my spot for the graph speed. You won't see this on the board until I actually reveal my position to attack a ship. Then I will put it out here. So I'm just looking at where I want to start. And I am going to start, what is this one here? Okay. So I will mark it. And then we will get going. So that would be my choice there. Red first. All right, so I have to look at my 5 cards. So now you can see what I've got here. Point values up here in the left side. The cards that don't have the German flag are cards that both the British and the Germans share the exact same card. So when it gets to a battle phase, and say I get into a battle phase, I want to have high value cards in my hand so that I have a better chance of winning each battle. Because if, say I have a 2 in my hand, and then the British play a 4, they will win. I will take 1 damage. There's only ever 1 damage on each round of the game, no matter what the difference in strength values in the dueling are. All right, so taking a look at my cards, and you will see things that are also battle event. That means that it can be played during the battle and it will affect the battle somehow. I don't think the British have these, so that's an advantage for the Germans. You'll see a mandatory event, which means that you have no choice when you play this card. You have to play it for the event, and then it will tell you what to do. Other things will be hunt events that you can choose to play it as an event, discard the card, or play it for the points. All right, so I'm going to pick what I want for my thing here, and I'm going to play cat and mouse game, which is a mandatory event, which has 3 AP. It says the British player must sum the value of their cards and tell you the total. Then I get to use 3 action points. So that is going into discard. And now Suzanne has to tell me the total value of all her cards, so I have an idea how powerful her hand of cards is.
20.
20. Okay, that's pretty good. That's yeah, so that's a pretty good. What would that be? At least 4 on average per card. Somebody probably would tell me right now it's a bad time to get into a battle. Sometimes I might want to push to get into a battle with the British because I have a strong hand of cards. And one time we played, I did that and then I lost. The game was over in like 10 minutes. All right, so I have now 3 action points. So the Germans can spend it on moving, which would be 1 action point to move 1 space, 2 to move 2 spaces, or 4 action points to move 3. And then they can search once per turn, and this is allowed during movement. So the Grafspee can move into a British space, search, sink it, and move out with remaining points. That is really important as well, not to stay in the same spot for too long. And then they can search. It costs them 2 action points to search for the British freight ship, whereas the British can search the German Grafspee for 1. And then the airplane, and then there's taking, going into reserve points. I can also put an AP in the reserve. So I'm going to obviously now spend 2 to search for this freighter here in space 23, which is where I started. So I just put it out, and then you have to add the plane roll at the beginning. You can't roll first and then do the plane. The plane, boss, the plane. So I'm going to roll, and I'm hoping for a, what do I need? I need a 3 or better on the die. And I failed. The British are laughing. So that's how it goes. So I spent 2 points, and I had 1 left over. So I'm now just going to do what? I'm going to reserve a point that was left over into the reserve spot. So I take this off, and obviously I haven't moved. So Suzanne will still know where I am, though she's still far away with force G. Now she has a +½ point on there. That means when she searches, I think it was only used in battles, yeah. So when we get to a battle phase, if she, say, plays a 2 card in the duel, and I play a 2, and she had found me with this ship, she'll win because she then has 2½ points. You can see there, half. Now the next ship to come out, the force H is a 0, but the powerful force K is +1. The British can spend 2 action points to move their ship a space and then out. So she was doing better to get more ships out to search for me. So I have got that 1 point left, and I spend it on this. Now I can redraw because I am obviously close to the alt mark, and
I think you also have to move your plane down.
The plane got moved here to the. It needs to be refueled. I could actually spend the money on. Actually, maybe I'm going to spend it on refueling the plane. Forget about the reserve. I don't have to roll the die because right now 1 to 6 will refuel the plane because I have no cards out. If I had 1 card out right now, I would only refuel the plane on a 2 to 6. So this gets refueled for that last point. And then I redraw to 5 cards because I am obviously adjacent to the alt mark. Now I can also move the alt mark during my turn. I could be spending points on the Grafspee and the alt mark to move them around. All right, so that's it for my turn, and it is the British
All right. Every start of the British turn, the tankers are moving.
Right, that is
So-
automatic.
This one goes from Brazil to South Africa.
Yes.
And
So she has
comes
to
up
take the shortest route. Of course, she could choose, what direction now if it's the same equidistant. And now this, so you have no choice on moving these. They just go like bots to their destination. She can only control her forces, of which there's only one out right now. Okay, so the next thing you would check after this is if there are less than 2 freighters on the board. She would draw another freighter randomly from the bag and put it out on either South Africa, Argentina, Brazil, and some actually start in Great Britain as well. So we still have 2 out there. And now she, okay,
Obviously, I know where you are right now.
yeah.
I'm gonna play this card for the points.
All right, so
So-
she has played Harwood's Intuition. Harwood was the leader of the British forces during this event, during this time, and she is playing it for the points. This can also be played as a reaction card, and it's quite powerful. So if I was searching for a freight ship, she could instantly play this and get to do a search herself with +1 using that force. Normally she can only search on her own turn. But in this case, if I searched and I found, well, even if I didn't find a freighter, she could do this as a reaction, then immediately search for me even before I had a chance to move away. And then that card would get removed from the game. These symbols on the bottom here, this means British intelligence. It's an addition you can do. So say, she plays one action point, she can add 1 on the search die, or she can put out I have to put out a hint marker to where the Germans are. And she can continue playing more of these cards as long as she has the action points to spend. You can't do both things together. You couldn't play it for the 4 action points and this. The British intelligence has to be played on its own card as an addition to something else that you're doing. So this is a hunt event. Okay, so she's playing for points, and that's 4 action points.
Okay, 1, 2, 3.
Right, so she had to use all 4, because using 3 movement would cost 4 points.
And my last point I'm using.
Well, you don't have any more points.
No, I used. Oh, that's right.
Yeah,
Yes.
so she can't search for me now. If I was 1 closer,
Yes.
she could have actually had the point over to search for me. So you see
I
the...
forgot that 4 means 3 spaces.
yeah, that's was the
Yeah.
tricky part, because it's 1 to 1, 2 to 2, and then it's 3 movement for 4 points. So that's how fast the British can find the Germans at the beginning. And so now you're done,
I'm done.
and then I'm going back to, and obviously I'm in that spot. So here's some of the cards I have. All right, I'm going to play Punta del Este. It's a hunt event worth 4 points. Only playable, well, I'm not going to play it for the hunt event, but I'm going to get it for the points. But it could be played as a hunt event if Grafspee is in the same space as a British force. I could start the battle immediately against that force, but during the battle, all German cards with value, consider German cards with value 5 as value 4. So that is a good way to initiate battle, but it will reduce the power of those 5 cards. Now, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to just play it for points. So I still need to go after these ships. So I think I'm going to move. And I have to always announce how many action points I'm spending on movement. Now, if I say I'm spending 2 action points, that doesn't mean I have to move graph speed 2. I could just bluff, not move it at all, move it 1. But you do have to announce that. Same with announcing how many cards I draw. So that can tell the British, if I say I'm redrawing to 5 cards, she's going to know that I am around the alt mark somewhere. But I could also bluff, even being around the alt mark, and just say I am not drawing any cards. And then she would not know, am I really here or am I maybe over here? Okay, so I have 4 points. I'm going to spend the first point to move into this hex. And then I spend 2 points to search for the Africa shell. And again, I'm rolling the die, and I'm going to also add the plane to that, which is another 2. I add 2 to my die roll, so let's see what I get. Again, a complete fail. See, last game I rolled 3 times in a row where I actually got the sank the ships. So if you're dice averse, you might not have fun. So even with the 2 added to that, I fail, giving me 1 point left over, which again is going to be spent on refueling the plane when I don't have to roll for that. So it basically would go to here. I would roll, since I have not removed any cards from the game. So now we know that the graph speed is there, and then I change my location. Actually, I can't use dice on this. Why did I think I could use dice? It's actually 27, so I can't use it on this. I had another one. I don't know. This one's also not a... I guess I would mark the 7 on here then.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm in space 27 right now. So I would have to show it by this. Okay. So that was it. I'm still close to the alt mark, adjacent. That means I can draw back up to 5 cards.
All right, British turn, moving again. And I'm going to play this for the points.
Okay, this is a card called Admiralty Rivalry. It's a hunt event. Now, she could play it as a hunt event, and I would have to discard 2 cards at random. At least 1 card must stay in their hand, and then use 3 action points. So you're using it for action points?
I'm using it for action points.
All right.
Since I know where you are.
Yeah, she knows that. Okay, you know where I am. Right.
I'm going here.
So that was 1 point.
That was 1 point. Then I do a search for another point.
That's 2.
And I also want to do at this one.
Ooh. Okay, so now she's adding this for another point, and this is going to give her 2 plus 2 on the die roll, and also I have to do a hint. Okay, wow. So you spent 1 to move, then
1 to search.
1 to search, 2, and then 3 for this, and then you could continue doing some more.
Which I will.
She's adding another 1. Wow. So she's now spent all her 4 points, and she has 3 binoculars, which adds 3 to the die. I have to obviously put out a hint marker, and it doesn't really matter where I put this now, because it's obvious where I am. I could put it here as well.
So I needed a 5 for success, right?
Yeah, so now you have...
So now it's reduced by 2. So 2 and higher?
2 and higher.
Come on. Yes.
Okay. So...
We're going into battle.
We're already going into battle. That was quick. So I have 5 cards in hand. And now she's drawing up to 5. So I think we will both play a card at the same time. And then flip them. All right, I'm going to play this card. All right, flip them over. Okay, I have a 2, and she has a 3 with this card. The HMS Cumberland increased the AP. Well, this is also a AP increases the AP value of the next 2 battle cards by 1 action point. So,
But does it even count in this battle?
well, it does. It's a battle event, so this works for you,
Okay.
and so that's going to be really good for the British. So, my card is the Concentrated Fire, which also has a battle event. And on this one, I get to look at the opponent's cards. So that gives me an idea what she has left to play. All right, so I've lost this battle because she beat me by 3-2. So we put a damage marker on the Germans for round 1.
Plus my half point from the tanker.
Yeah, she would have also the half point from the tanker, so her score would actually be 3.5 right now. So that is, and now she's going to get the plus on the next 2 cards. So we go into the second round now. Well, first I get to see your cards.
What?
Well, yeah, it said look at your card, look at the opponent's
Oh.
cards. So now we can share what she has. Now these are bad news for me because she's got 2 5s. And here's a weak one, the Royal Navy. And then this one is also fairly weak. So so now I've got this information, and I can, maybe it makes a difference in what I'm going to put out first. Okay, so we continue with the next round, but you're going to get plus anyway on the next 2 cards. So, all right, I play a card. Flip it. Well, her 5 now would count as a 6. Plus the half point, 6.5 to 1. I don't know who won on this one. Could it be the British? 6.5 to 1. Okay, so that was round 2. And I take another damage. And then we go into round 3. She still gets a +1. All right. Flip them over. All right, so she has now played the 2. These are both hunt events, so only the numbers count. And I've played the Hans Langsdorff card. So she's going to win that right now as well because she's got the half point advantage from Force G, so she has 2.5 to my 2. So she wins that round. So I think we don't even need to play the rest unless I have something that can change it. I've now got 3 damage. So we can continue here with the next cards. Are you still getting a plus?
Well, the half point.
But not the +1.
No.
It's already played out?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right, I'll play this one. So she also wins this one, even though I had a 5, because she had 5.5. And that's it. I mean, it's there's I don't think any way I could possibly win this. I play my last card, and I managed to get 1 damage in. So that was it. Game over. And that didn't last more than barely 25 minutes. So that's
Great short game.
that's how fast it can go. So if you like a short game, it could be for you. I would. I don't think we don't prefer this to Watergate. Watergate has a little more strategy in it, even though it uses cards the same way, with the events and the point values on them. But this one is a little bit more random because of the die rolling. Now, in the last game, I managed to get 3 or 4 ships sunk really quickly. And I think Suzanne only had maybe 1 ship saved. So, in this case, maybe I should have continued moving. It was dangerous to go there and search again. And then I got stuck with a bad hand of cards. Like you could see, my values were pretty low. I had only 1 5. So I never would have gone into a battle with a hand like that. And of course, she had the card that gave her the plus, so that was an easy advantage there for the British. So, you can quickly set it up for another game. So that's the good thing about it. It's a nice, small, compact game. It is coming in a small box. That's what it looks like, just like Watergate did. I think it's like $35 retail. I think it's only available in Canada and the US right now. So, yeah, for now, we're having fun with it. I don't know how many plays we'll get out of it, but you can definitely see it more as a beer and pretzels type of game. If you're a hardcore war gamer, this wouldn't do it. I would say this is, a little more complex than Battleship, obviously. And it's historical, which is good. And there are definitely some card combos that come out that are quite fun. I mean, I can play a card, she can react to it, and then I can react to her reaction. So that those combos can happen. And if the game ends quickly, you can just have another one. Or you can switch sides and try it. So far, she's just been playing the British. And is this the first time you won as the British?
Mm-hmm.
I think it is, right? Yeah, so I think we played, 3 times?
Mm.
So, the key for the British, I think, is to find the Germans quickly and put an end to it. And she obviously had that card that gave her the die roll advantage on her, the AP advantage for her future cards. So that was a good time to initiate the battle. So the only thing that might have saved me was if I had that Montevideo card, which is this one. I could repair 2 damage if it was played as the 5th card in battle. And then if I do so and the opponent plays Scuttling in Montevideo as their 5th card, I would lose the game. But I would win the game if I played this in the 5th round and then actually managed to, it would help me remove some of these damage markers. I did that in one game, and she did not have the proper card to respond. So that probably would have been the only thing that saved me. Anyway, there you go. Very quick run through. And I don't know how many people are going to own this game. It seems to be, one of these games that's not going to get really high on the sales board game geek list. Still listed pretty low. So still there are a lot of games in the lower numbers that can be quite fun. I took a chance with this because it was cheap. So for around $35, $40 you can take a few more risks and see how it works out. So anyway, that was our wrap up for The Hunt. Mattias Cramer seems to be working on strictly 2-player games now. His next one is something on Russian history from the 20s to do with Lenin. I can't remember the title, but it's also going to be 2-player and again probably political. I'm guessing similar to Watergate. So I look forward to seeing more about that one. All right, so I hope you enjoyed this video. We are the Board Game Bears, and we'll be back with another game. I'm not sure what we're going to play next, but it's just going to be a casual run channel where we'll take something out, play it, and we're not going to be doing Kickstarters or any things that haven't been in retail yet. Just playing games that are already out. I'm not going to be getting involved with Kickstarters or games that might not even show up in the future. We don't have any sponsors on this channel. We buy our own games, so we strictly buy things that we think we're going to enjoy, and we both like theme and something that's not a table hog, that's a quick setup time. So I think in this case the game is pretty fast to set up. So what would you give this out of a 10? Give it a review.
Hard to say. I don't know. I would give it a 5.5, 6 maybe.
Okay.
5.5, I think.
Right. Okay, so I think that rating would mean, what would that mean exactly on the Board Game Geek scale?
I think Watergate was a little more fun to play.
Yeah, I agree with that about Watergate. I think there's more strategy and a little more, it was drawn out longer, for sure. There was no quick endings in that game.
Although our last game of the hunt did last way longer than this one.
Yeah. So a 5 rating would be mediocre, take it or leave it. Is that how you would say it?
Yes.
So you would call it mediocre?
Take it or leave it.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm putting it maybe somewhere around a 6 for now, which would be okay, we'll play if in the mood. So I would say, yeah, if you wanted a quick game or a good travel game that doesn't take up a lot of room, but compared to something like Darwin's Journey, which we played last week, that game to me was about an 8, and maybe even a 9.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, that was way more involved.
Yeah.
So this is pretty light. And Watergate, I'm sure I ranked it was at least 8, and maybe 8.5. So there you go. And I think the reviews now on Board Game Geek put this about a 7.3. So not super high and not super low. But again, I think the complaints from some people are this, because this can just go on forever, where you don't make any hits. And also complaints that the Germans will never remove cards from their deck because they've got to keep the plane working. So I think all the games so far have at most removed 1 card from the deck. So I haven't tended to play these things as events. I've avoided it. I've just taken the points. So, okay, well that's our review. Like I say, more of a beer and pretzels game. It's pretty light. You might not get a lot of plays out of it, but if you liked what you saw, check it out. And you might get more people involved in the game because they like dice rolling. So that'll even things up. It's not like you're going to completely out-strategize somebody and then, upset the other person because they didn't know how to play it properly. All right. So we'll see you on the next Board Game Bears.
Bye.